What's good, people? Time for another Magic Man review. Today you're getting a twofer. 2 for 1. Alright. Now this next book I'm going to review is very controversial. And the reason it's considered controversial, it's really not. Because it goes against the narrative. Okay. The narrative that you will hear on television, I don't care if it's Fox News, I don't care if it's CBS or NBC or MSNBC, CNN, it goes against the narrative. There's a narrative that was put out there about the United States and about race relations in the United States that if you go against it, it's heresy. Now, I'm not going to get into depth with this book, because if I got into depth with this book, they would cancel my channel, because it is that against the grain. There are some books out there, I'm going to cover it a little bit, but there are some books out there that you cannot even, if you even show the cover of the book on your channel, it will get you automatically flagged and your channel will be deleted. That lets you know that there's a narrative out there. There's certain things they don't want you to read. There's certain authorities you can't question, like Yahweh's chosen people, about bombing people in the sandbox out there. Okay. All right, let's get into it. This is called A Nation on Fire, Clay Rising. And it's about the America in the wake of the assassination of Martin Luther King. All right. Now, before there was a George Floyd riot, before O.J. Simpson, and before Rodney King, there was the Martin Luther King riot, when cities across the United States went up in flames after Martin Luther King was shot and killed. All right. Now, the reason I'm doing a review on this book is because it goes against the narrative. Nothing but facts in here. It's not points of view. This guy's just pointing out facts as they happened. And if you want to understand race relations in the United States, you should read this book. Okay. What you see in the television, what you see in the movies, it's part of the narrative. It's part of the storyline that they want you to believe in. They omit so much. They lie by omission. And it really gives you an understanding of the time and how people thought back then, where they were coming from, their perspective. Because a lot of times what happens is we project our own way of thinking upon past times. They say, oh, you people are this, you people are that, and you were wrong for thinking that. But you didn't live in those times. You didn't live, and you weren't around back then. Everybody thought, a certain way back in the day. Then things changed. Say, for instance, in 1,000 years from now, people don't eat meat. Or better yet, people don't even eat plants. They eat like, goo, like with proteins and all your nutrients in them and vitamins. And they say, oh, people back in the day who ate plants, you're barbaric. You're barbarians. You're killing these poor plants. How dare you? But you didn't live those people didn't live back there. Back, in the time when people ate plants and they ate vegetables or ate meat. So what happens a lot of times is people will take their own perspective and they'll superimpose it on people during the past. And so when you read this book, you'll get a different perspective how people thought back then. And particularly in the 1960s. It gives you a little bit of perspective about Martin Luther King himself, about how he was kind of a spent force when he got assassinated. They kind of made him into a martyr that he really wouldn't have been if he had lived to, say, like Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton, who was a police informant. He was an informant for the FBI. Al Sharpton is a snitch, okay? Anybody who follows him thinks he's a great person. No, he was back there in the day slinging dope, and he ratted out the mafia to the FBI. That came out in the Freedom of Information Act. But he was a spent force, so they made him into a martyr. And this book does not get into like the so-called conspiracy theories about how he was a communist and stuff like that. But those Freedom of Information Acts just got released not too long ago about Martin Luther King. I'm not here to denigrate Martin Luther King. You know the motto of this channel: humans are going to human. Humans are going to do human stuff. Okay, nobody's perfect. We all bring something to the table. All right, but he's not like a saint. People like, oh, Martin Luther King this, Martin Luther King that. He was just a regular dude. He didn't want, like, he thought he wanted rights for black people in the United States, and that's cool, you know. Hey, you gotta fight for what you believe in. And you have to kind of, this book right here, it really delves into white flight in the United States, because beforehand, a lot of the cities like Detroit, Baltimore, Cleveland, Atlanta, those were predominantly white cities. And so when they had the rioting and stuff started getting burned down, white people started moving out into the suburbs. They started making suburbs, like, we're just getting away from this stuff. And you'll understand it when you read this book. It doesn't get into busing in here, but that was kind of like in the same thing. And this was before my time. I grew up in the 80s, in the 90s. So this had already happened before I was even born. And if you're looking at this video and you're not like in your 60s or 70s, you really don't remember this either. You weren't born. So it's a really good insight into what happened back then. This book details the beginning. This was the end of the civil rights era. If you look at the news, if you look at the television, the prevailing narrative, you'll think the civil rights era kept on going on and on and on. Now, after this, white people became apathetic. It was like, we did all this, we'd help you out, and this is what you do when one guy gets shot, okay? And it wasn't all the looting and the rioting wasn't just about Martin Luther King getting shot. It was just opportunism. And you see that today. Like, why are white kids looting alongside black kids because George Floyd was killed or he died? Okay, it's just opportunism. Like I said, humans are going to human. What did Foot Locker have to do with racial bigotry, you know? No, it's just people wanting to get free stuff, you know? But again, the reason you should read this book, because it goes totally against the narrative that gets put out there. I chat with a lot of people who were over in Europe and Canada and around the world, and they watched the television over there and the media, and they had this prevailing thought that, you know, somehow that, you know, the United States is some racially bigoted country, and we're running around and beating the minorities with sticks and stuff like that. That's not the case, okay? It's not the case at all. People, and they pass judgment on it. It's like, oh, why do you need all these guns and stuff? And they're like, what's wrong with you people? They don't live here, okay? They look at the media and they think that's the truth. It's not the truth. Read books like this, and you'll find, and you'll just cut through the narrative and what you're being told, okay? The propaganda, the yellow journalism. Humans are going to human, baby. That's what we do. We make up stuff to make ourselves feel better about ourselves, which is nice little lies. We don't do that on this channel. We go for the straight truth. A Nation on Fire by Clay Rising. So next time, people.